How you guys doing today? Today, I want to talk about something that is pretty huge. Today, I want to, during current events, where I talk about credit and debt in general, I want to talk about the moratorium ending and more than 8 million households facing foreclosure or eviction. Okay, I'm going to talk about that, so stay tuned. My name is Jay, and welcome to Ask a Debt Collector. Now, I've been in the debt collection industry for over 15 years. I've done it all, from skip tracing to collecting to management, and I've owned 2 debt collection agencies. For the past 8 years, I've been the go-to guy for friends and family for questions regarding debt and credit, and now I want to be that person for you. If you have any questions, put them down in the comment section. I promise I'll answer those questions. Let's go. If you haven't had the time, be sure to like and subscribe. Share these videos and other videos that I am doing regarding credit and debt. The great thing is that it's in the perspective of a debt collector. Been a debt collecting for over 15 years, as the video has stated, so be sure to like and subscribe. Great thing is everything's opening up. Coronavirus is still here, obviously. Wear your mask if you feel obligated to do so. Don't wear your mask, whatever the situation is. But even as the nation rebounds from the corona pandemic, more than 2 million homeowners are behind on their mortgage and are at risk of being forced out of their homes in a matter of weeks. A new Harvard University housing report warns. Congress has dedicated $10 billion to help homeowners get caught up on payments, but it's unclear if the funding will make it to the families before the mortgage company begins sending out foreclosure notices, researchers said. So there's been $10 million allocated, obviously, with regards to how they're going to divvy up the money and give it. Obviously, it's going to take time, as we know, with regards to the payments that we had got during the pandemic, when you had the House and the Senate going back and forth with regards to that. It just taking some time. So basically what they're stating is this $10 billion that's been allocated to pay back rent and back mortgages are going to get to the people, but it may not happen in enough time before these foreclosures happen. The Harvard research found census data that shows that 6 million households are still behind on rent and could face eviction at the end of June, which is not far from now. So the reality is a lot of these houses in the markets, if they're federally backed, by the end of June, if they don't come together and figure out a new legislation to extend it, 8 million total, about 2 million mortgage behind, 6 million people back on rent will be forced and kicked out of their homes. With so many renters in financial distress, there's concerns about the impending wave of evictions, the Harvard report said. Now, let's get into some of the statistics. More than 7 million homeowners took advantage of the foreclosure moratorium passed as part of the Coronavirus Aid, Relief, and Economic Security Act last spring. The provision was later extended by the Biden White House as of March 2021. Most of the homeowners have started repaying lenders, and some are even up to date with their lenders, but that leaves about 2.1 million still behind on their mortgages, researchers said. Of that number, about 325,000 homeowners have a federal Housing Administration loan and are behind at least 60 days. They are most likely people of color, the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development said on Wednesday. So, as you guys know, the federally backed homes, they've gotten time. The privately owned ones, there are people, no one's talking about those people, but there are a lot of people there who didn't pay, but that were actually kicked out of their homes. I want to give a brief story on Karen King, who's an African-American woman who is, she was 5 months late on her mortgage in Alabama. She told CPS Money Watchers she is terrified that her home could be taken away. King, who is a African-American woman who's 51 years old, a staff member at the Tuscaloosa Housing Authority, fell behind on payments last year after her job switched her part-time hours during the pandemic. She now owes $4,200. King returned to full-time hours back in January, but has only been able to pay her normal monthly mortgage amount and no more. So during the pandemic, a lot of people lost their jobs or the money was cut down low, right? And so then now, come January, a lot of people are getting back full payment, but they're behind on a lot of stuff. So the reality is, if the money that they're behind on with regards to paying mortgage, if it was cut in half and they weren't paying the mortgage and now their money's back good, it's still hard to sort of kind of dig and try and find out how to come up with the money that they've been behind on. So obviously, this $10 billion needs to be passed by legislation as soon as possible to help certain people, and a lot of people out there, whether you're African American, white, Asian, whatever the circumstance is. If you're behind on your rent, you need help. We all need that help. That $10 billion needs to come out as soon as possible. The reality is home ownership. Let me give you some more statistics. Home ownership gap remains. This report also touches on sharp increase in home prices since mid-2020. If you guys live out here in California, the housing market is really up. Obviously, interest rates are low, but the housing markets, people are paying $30,000 to $50,000 more. A lot of cash buyers are coming in and just buying up a lot of the property here in California. Okay, so it says the black home ownership rate was 46% during the first quarter of the 2021 compared to 74% for white Americans, researchers say. There was a slight improvement statistically in the gap, but the numbers are still large by historical standards, they said. The gap remains in a large part because of the income gaps between blacks and white households. Researchers said in 2019, the median income household headed by a white person was $76,000 a year. For a household headed by a black person was $45,000, the census data reported and shown. So a lot of this stuff between white and black people, obviously those are the census that of the stuff that was stated and the stuff that is happening with regards to what is transpiring. The reality is, I was raised by my grandmother, and when I got older and asking and talking to my grandmother, I know that my dad, my auntie, and my uncle, which were her 3 kids, she actually helped provided a home for all of them. But once the 80s hit and the drug pandemic came around, it wiped out a lot of our parents. And so now my generation, is trying to start buying homes and so forth, and to get in that mode again and hopefully pass to our kids' kids and kids' kids and get in a better situation. I went to a private school. I'll tell you one thing that I did notice. I've had friends, and at this private school, for the most part, it costs 15 to 20 grand a year to go to this school, I believe, around that amount. And obviously that's what opened my eyes. I was around people who came from money. And the reality is, I remember, out of 3 of my friends, two of my friends, when they graduated at 18, they got apartment complexes. They were given a house from their parents, and that helped them. So when we were both starting out, me not knowing anything about credit, they're starting out with passive income and with assets. That gap is so huge. Whose fault is it? Obviously, I don't know. With regards to the educational system and everything with regards to that, I would think some of that has a part to play in it. Obviously, just the knowledge of understanding and so forth. It just makes things so much better. But nevertheless, this $10 billion, I hope it gets out to those of you who need it, and no one's evicted or no one loses their homes, hopefully, that are federally backed, because I know that there are people who have privately owned spots and you've, probably lost your home or was evicted. Nevertheless, hopefully this information give you something with regards to what is going on, and I just hope the best for every single person out there. I don't care who you are, what you are, but I hope that you're not facing eviction or losing your home, foreclosure on your home. Now, if you have any questions, put them down in the comment section. I promise I'll answer them. And as always, you